Athens is running man, symbol perhaps of how at the last moment the Greek government has accelerated talks all through the night in this hotel, the Hilton, on its third and presumably last ever bailout deal. The agreement's all but been reached, said Euclid Sakalotos, finance minister and old boy of a famous English public school. Nuts. What's been happening to Greece's economy? Banks closed, difficult for Greeks to get their savings or credit, and for businesses like this chain of 9 shops to pay their overseas suppliers.
We applied to the banks 15 days ago to make an application to pay the importers. We still haven't had an answer. It's not just our business, it's difficult for the Greek economy. The problem is very serious. Decisions have to be taken very fast so that we can step out of this dead end.
Now, today's deal doesn't in fact sort out the banks. They need an estimated 25 billion euros of new capital, perhaps from eurozone taxpayers, and escape from 95 billion euros of bad debts or loans that households and businesses are struggling to repay. But Greece's Syriza government has agreed to yet more austerity. This year, it expects to run a deficit of 0.25% of GDP or national income, and by 2018, it promises it will be spending less than it earns from taxes, and there'll be a surplus of 3.5% of GDP. That may sound tough, but Athens says there'll be 20 billion euros less in the way of cuts and tax rises than would have been the case under the previous government. But even if the rest of the eurozone is imposing a smaller squeeze, Greece's creditors have still not agreed to ease the biggest weight bearing down on the country. Massive debts due to rise to over 200% of GDP in the next couple of years.
It's a huge amount of debt. Actually, it's going up through the crisis. We need some sort of measures to make it sustainable in the long term. This will have to include at some point some debt forgiveness.
Not every Greek perspective is gloomy. We could all do with a bit of this. But most economists say unless the rest of the eurozone, and especially Berlin, relents and lets Greece off a huge chunk of what it owes, paradise will be lost for decades. Robert Peston, BBC News.